This week I'm back at Heathrow flying SAS Scandinavian Airlines, but it all goes peak-tong before we even get in the air.
And it's not about us if it's safe to fly, if it's illegal to fly, because I'm not taking the responsibility. If they're saying it's illegal, I'm not gonna risk my license.
Yep, the plane is broken and we're all plunged into darkness. So come join me this week. Will we get in the sky after all, or does this turn into a costly adventure? My journey starts by jumping on a bus after staying in a hotel the night before. Remember, always use the TfL buses, which cost just under £2 for a single, compared to the extortionate £6.80 charged by the hotel hopper. Well, a very warm welcome to this week's video. Welcome back to Heathrow, my second home. I think it would just be easier sometimes if I bought a sleeping bag and stayed outside Terminal 2. I seem to have departed here quite a lot of times actually in the last 12 months. So back again at my second home. But today we're flying SAS Scandinavian Airlines from London Heathrow's Terminal 2 up to Copenhagen in economy on their Airbus A320. Now SAS offer quite a few nifty optional extras which I've gone for today. So we'll go into detail with those shortly. But for now, let's get inside the terminal and get this very short journey up to Copenhagen started with SAS Scandinavian Airlines. Now, SAS departures take place out of Heathrow's Terminal 2, and you need to head to Zone C for Charlie to access the bag drops and check-in areas. There's both automated kiosks if you prefer to do it yourself, or conventional check-in desks if you so prefer. After this, it was time for me to head through to security. Well, it seems I somewhat jinxed myself last time I was here by saying how good Heathrow's security was and how much I'd seen improvements, because that was a pretty shockingly poor experience. About 35 minutes today to get through, which, you know, hey ho, it is what it is, as I always say, but it's certainly not as quick as it was last time, which was just 5 minutes straight through. It did look like there was a bit of a staff shortage going on today, which, you know, can't really be accounted for sometimes, but yeah. So we're pretty much through security now. We're just going to mill around. Probably not going to bother with the lounge today because it is the same one as I reviewed in my Turkish Airlines flight. So if you haven't seen that one, take a look at that. That's got the full Plaza Premium tour in. Today, probably going to grab a Pret and then all shall be revealed. We'll go into details about all the extras I've purchased on board, which does include a little nibble. So stay tuned and then we'll get right into this review with SAS up to Copenhagen. Bit of mystery going on at Heathrow Airport today, because as busy as Heathrow's security was when I came through, it was so busy, in fact they stopped people coming in while you scan your boarding passes for about 5 minutes. All the people terminal airside seem to have disappeared. It just seems deadly earthly quiet here, which is really bizarre, but hey ho, they must be in the pub or Pret. Those are the only things that seem to be open at the moment. Just a reminder as well, if you do use the Plaza Premium Lounge, it opens at 5 AM at Heathrow, so if you are coming in at 4 o'clock to drop your bags, just be mindful of that and be aware that that lounge doesn't open until 5. So instead of going in the lounge, because it's in that previous video I did with Turkish Airlines, I've decided to buy the breakfast on board today. Now that's something I would normally never do, but there was no eggs on it, so that was a good starting point for SAS. A little bit pricey, I think it was close to £8. It was a continental style breakfast, yogurts, meats, cheeses, I think there was some bread on there as well and a drink, so I thought, you know what, I might do that today instead of going in the lounge. So we'll review that on board and see what SAS's breakfast offerings like on a paid for basis. And then when I was checking in last night, SAS offered me for £25.30 the ability to block the seat next to me. Now I'm currently in 16A, and for £25.30 they said they'd block 16B, so you've got a bit more comfort, and it kind of makes it very similar to that intra-European business class product. So I opted for that because I thought that was a great offering. Now I have heard airlines offer these before, but I've never come across it, and I didn't certainly think it'd be on a route like Heathrow Copenhagen, because my understanding of this route is it's quite a busy one. So interesting, it must not be a full load today, so I'll report on board and let you know if that's something to consider, because if I get on board and there's only 7 people on, I would say in future maybe just, you know, take a gamble and see what happens, but if it looks like a little bit of a full load, then it might work in your favour if you're the sort of person that likes that bit of extra space. And for £25.30 I don't think that's too bad, because the total ticket cost all in all, was just over £100 in economy light, and that includes a small bag. Now, I have SAS frequent flyer status, I have SkyTeam frequent flyer status at Silver, their Euro bonus programme, so I get an extra bag anyway in the checked luggage department, but I didn't really need to take advantage of that today. But you can add bags on throughout the process as you check in if you want to, and to be fair with SAS, everything does seem to be pretty competitively priced. For me, in my mind, if I was looking at blocking a seat, I'd probably be thinking around the £30 mark, so just under that is pretty decent. So yeah, let's get this journey over to Copenhagen started with SAS aboard their Airbus A320. Not wanting to break the bank at £3.70 for a 250ml orange juice in Pret, I did just quickly nip into the lounge to hydrate myself. And also, when leaving, this Zacapa Solera rum caught my eye in duty free. If you've never tried it, it's a must. It really is a super rum. But there was no time for shopping for me today, as my gate was announced, and it was a bit of a walk over to the B gates. Today's aircraft is this 7.5-year-old Airbus A320neo, which was delivered to SAS Ireland in November of 2018. It seats 180 passengers in a 3-3 layout. So, all at the gate, ready to board our flight. Boarding should commence in the next 10 to 15 minutes, and it's looking all good today for an on-time departure. Yes, in about 30 minutes' time, I'll really come to regret saying that. Sometimes I do jinx myself for sure. Up towards Copenhagen with SAS. Gate B47 for me today, so just remember if you're departing from some of these B gates, if you're in Terminal 2, there is a little bit of a walk, up to 15 minutes walk, so just leave yourself plenty of time to get to the gate. But here, in plenty of time, and just about getting ready to start boarding this A320 up to Copenhagen. The aircraft is in a 3-3 layout with grey Recaro seating and black fabric headrests. I'm seated in row 16 today and have both the A and B seats to myself. There was also an entire overhead bin waiting for me too. So good morning and welcome aboard this SAS Scandinavian Airlines A320, and when I say it's a low load, by goodness me, it's a low load. I feel a bit of a fool now paying that £25.30 for the extra space next to me because there's just 44 passengers on board. It is what it is. I spoke to the gate team and they basically said normally when that pops up, it's an indicator that the flight is going to be a bit of a low load. So if you ever see it pop up on the SAS app as you're checking in or selecting your seat, that offer for the extra space seat next to you, maybe think twice. It's probably, in my humble opinion, worth the gamble and not doing it. Just to see if it's a low load, because today pretty much every single passenger has a row to themselves, so it is what it is. I've paid the £25.30 so you don't have to. But anyway, we're literally about to push back and get in the air towards Copenhagen, and I'll report on this flight in full detail as we get in the air. The legroom is a little tight but not uncomfortable by any means. There's USB-A charging ports, manual window blinds, overhead air vents and reading lights in the panel above your head, a coat hook, drop-down tray table, a selection of literature, a rather small storage pocket, as well as a fabric upholstered seat and headrests. Finally, the seats do recline too. It was then that I noticed an engineer in the flight deck. It's never a good sign. They told everyone they had to restart the systems, and as such we'd spend 5 to 10 minutes in the dark on the apron, something that hasn't happened before, and it was quite fun to be fair. Then the pilot jumped on the PA to update us with the latest situation.
As you're aware, we are having a small, very minor technical issue up front. It has to do with some computers, but it's nothing really major. The problem is the paperwork, to be honest. We're just figuring out the paperwork by the engineers. Once they sign the book, then we will be on our way. Shouldn't be more than 15 minutes from now. There's not a lot of delay expected. Plus, we will trim down all of it during cruise. We can do some magic when airborne. But Tim is gonna be flying us today to Copenhagen, so he's gonna be back with you during the cruise with some flight updates and a more accurate land time. But in the meantime, I do trust your city captain. Please enjoy your flight, and I'll keep you posted with regard to the delay. Thank you.
So still sat on the ground about 30 minutes since that PA. The captain's just come on and told us that it's going to take another 10 minutes, and he did apologise, said he kind of understated the delay a little bit and didn't anticipate it taking this long, which is, okay. Things happen, don't they? They're having to manually clear a lot of errors apparently because one of the computers isn't working, and that's had a knock-on effect on the paperwork and the dispatch process. We've also lost our slot now as well, which at Heathrow can be a real pain, but as you see, the light has risen, so certainly feel like I've done a leg to Copenhagen on this flight already, but the crew have been lovely. There's been lots of PAs, lots of communication, which is really positive, and the cabin crew have been coming around every 5 to 10 minutes, just walking through and asking if anyone's got any questions and trying to keep people updated. So props to SAS for the excellent communication, certainly something Iberia could take a learning curve from.
The problem is there is a computer that regulates the ventilation of the computers, basically. That is gone. So we've deactivated it, but in the process we have 1X on the display that shouldn't be there. In my book, we have instructions to go, but the engineers in the headquarters are having second thoughts. It's not about us if it's safe to fly, if it's illegal to fly. So it's not a matter of safety, it's about the legality now. I do apologize for this, but we'll do our best. From the crew side, we're happy to go, but we need a thumbs up from them, because I'm not taking the responsibility. If they're saying it's illegal, I'm not gonna risk my license to to fly the aircraft. But that's where we stand. I do believe this is gonna get resolved, but I think at this point you know as much as I do. So we're just giving it a go with the excess, and then we see how it goes. But I'll let you know. But that's the honest truth. I can't really tell you anything more than that.
All the crew running around. This is turning into a bit of a fun kind of joke, and you know what? Everyone's taking it so well because the crew are really, really good. And this just proves, doesn't it? Look at my Iberia experience compared to this SAS experience. It's all down to how the crew deal with it. But as you can hear, we are going. The issue has been fixed. The captain was just dealt with it really well. Got on the PA, stood in the aisle, came through, spoke to everybody. A really, really cool guy. So props to SAS for this really well handling of this delay situation. But yeah, we're good to go. We are currently just over 2 hours behind schedule. We're off, we're going, and it's a good end to the story in the end. Bit of a long wait, but we got there. During the taxi, I spotted a couple of cool things. First, the Kingdom of Bahrain 747 jumbo jet was in, and secondly, this fuselage with something quite important missing from the back.
Och det är min om att säkerhetsbältet ska vara spänt samt att stolarna och bordet ska vara i loaded position.
feels really good to say we're up in the climb, because we are up in the climb finally after all that waiting to get off the ground. But again, a fine example of how you deal with a delay, and a fine example of how an airline should deal with a delay, which is just regular communication, honesty, forward planning, and you know, those refreshments that came round. And there was a tea and coffee service on the ground as well, which I didn't film because I was at the moment in time trying to work out what to do with the next flight. But yeah, that was nice as well. So really good to see, great crew, and feedback hath been sent already. So the flight has started. We've got about an hour and 25 over to Copenhagen today, so quite a quick flight time, which is great news for me. I'm going to sit back, relax, show you all the features and benefits, and get into my poor man's fully live flatbed and economy, because I've got this whole row. In fact, the row opposite me as well on 16 is also empty, so there's just me on the entirety of row 16. So I'm going to get settled in. I've got that breakfast service coming, although I don't know if the delay is going to negate that. I don't know if there's a time limitation on that service in terms of whether they can or can't serve that now from when it was delivered to the aircraft. But hey, I'm an understanding person. Let's see what happens, and I'll show you everything that you get when you fly SAS in 2026. So just finished the SAS breakfast service, that pre-ordered breakfast, through the pre-order options within the SAS app. When you make your booking or when you check it, it still pops up and you can add things on there. So I decided to go for the breakfast, and I've just completed it. And you know what? For the price I paid, it wasn't half bad, and the service that came with it was exemplary. So there was a yoghurt, a sort of natural yoghurt with a side of granola, like honey cinnamon granola, which had a blackberry in, really tasty, and that, you know, was a nice yoghurt actually. There was a salad, so there was lettuce, peppers, two thick slices of really good quality cheese, and some ham as well, which was really tasty. There was 2 slices of bread. Now there's a bit of a story about this. So they toasted all the bread in the business class ovens and brought it down for me. So she said, you know, you can't have cold bread, we do it hot for you so you can enjoy it with Lurpak butter. And she said, how many slices would you like? And I said, oh, just the 1 slice of bread is fine. And she said, oh no, have to at least eat properly, don't argue with me. Cracking banter on board. I love crew that, you know, look after people but do it in a way that's, you know, fun, and it just, you know, personality shines through, and that's a real selling point for any airline. Having crew that, you know how to communicate, can talk, can laugh, joke, etc. So had that was really tasty. So I kind of made a little bit of a sandwich with the cheese, the ham, the butter, and the toast, and had that yoghurt. And then there was a really good quality juice, Fruche it's called, and it was in a cardboard container. I was a little bit sceptical of it at first, but after a bit of digging, it seems to be quite a premium brand. And it was apple, orange, it had calamansi juice, grape juice, and mandarin, and it was really tasty. Fantastic quality juice. The crew then came back, offered me a cup of coffee and another glass of orange juice on ice, and said if there's anything else I want, I only need to ask by pressing the call bell. So, you know what? A nice breakfast service, and the best part about it, there wasn't an egg in sight. Time for a quick toilet check, and I will spare you the visuals on this one. The gentleman beforehand obviously didn't know how to flush the toilet, but other than that it was fairly clean with lots of soap and hot running water. Just that low ceiling again. This seems to be a weekly trending pattern. We're pretty close to Denmark now, not too long to go, so I thought I'd come back on here and just, you know, sum up the experience. If there's a little negative, and it's only a small one, is the seat is quite firm. As you can see, it's a Recaro seat, it's very thin, very plasticky, and I'm not going to lie to you, it doesn't really lend itself to much comfort, but on a short flight like this, it's not really anything to consider, you know, because you're not on here for 6 hours. The crew lead, the cabin crew manager, Lewis, has just come down to double check on me and my connection, and asked me if I've got any luggage in the hold, and, you know, just wanted to keep me appraised. So again, it's little details like that that really not only make you feel valued, but make you realise that SAS really pride themselves on the customer experience. So big points from me to SAS on that aspect of the journey, and the whole experience on board has been great. You know, it's very rare that you can have something negative to start the journey and still have passengers smiling, and we've got a full cabin of passengers smiling, all 44 of us. I've not seen anybody get grumpy or upset or raise their voice, or, you know, and that's what happens when you deal with delays promptly, effectively, with good communication. You speak to everybody and you're honest about what's going on. Most people, 99.9% of people, I think, are quite understanding in the circumstances. I think where tensions start to fray sometimes is when people don't know what's going on, or there's no communication, or there's just, you know, insufficient information provided by the teams on the ground. That's when people start to feel a bit, you know, isolated, and that's when tempers start to fray. But you know what? Props to SAS, it was really well handled, everybody was very well looked after, and that has continued in the air. So I have no qualms in recommending SAS if you're thinking about a short haul flight. I've not done their long haul yet, it is on my list, and I will get round to it, hopefully jump on their A350 in the near future. But it's been a really pleasant flight, and that breakfast was quite nice as well, so no complaints really from me. We got there in the end, and it's all looking rosy for my connection, which of course will be the source of next week's video, so stay tuned for that one. It's a really exciting one, and yeah, we'll see what happens on board there. But for now, aboard SK500 to Copenhagen as we approach Denmark. We're not too far at all as I say this. I think we're about to start our descent in the next 15 to 20 minutes. I've been James Warren Oliver, and a big thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
Copenhagen, where the local time is 11:33. For safety reasons, keep your seatbelt fastened and escape routes free from baggage until the seatbelt sign has been switched off. Large electronic devices must be remain stored. Please be careful when opening the overhead compartments as baggage may fall out. When disembarking, be aware of the difference in the level between the aircraft and the air bridge or stairs. From all of us here at SAS, thank you for flying with us today. Until we see you on board next time, goodbye and take care.
So yes, we were delayed by just over 2 hours, but the way it was handled made all the difference. The captain kept us constantly updated, the crew were present and proactive, and there was a clear sense that passengers were being respected rather than left in the dark, pun unintended. It's proof that when things don't go to plan, good communication and calm leadership can completely change the experience. Most people don't expect perfection, they just expect honesty. A small tip, unless the flight is looking very full, I'd probably skip paying for the extra seat option. On lower load services like this, you may well end up with space anyway, so it's a bit of a gamble. But overall, a professional crew, a solid onboard experience, and a delay that was handled properly. I'd have absolutely no hesitation flying SAS again. Now feels like the perfect moment to ask, if you're enjoying the adventures so far, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and come along for the ride with a growing community of fellow travellers.